Hey, what's up guys? Shadow Steel here. Welcome back to another episode of Railroads Online. It's been a while since I've played this game. But we're refueling here at the main yard. If you haven't guessed, between last episode and this episode, I went down back to the main yard, picking up some cars and dropping off some cars. Or at least picking up most of the cars, actually. I think I picked up cars rather than dropped off any cars. But we're refueling the articulate here. We're gonna let him sit while we get things organized again. But this time it's not gonna be as long of an organizational process. So let's get over to our main locomotive that we're gonna be using today. It's this little guy over here. So let's see. So we're gonna be organizing our trains just a tad so we can get things moving along here. Is that rolling? No, not really. Alright, we're good. So let's get in the cab here. I already said to go first. Good. Alright, let's go. There we go. Backing up. Backing up! But yeah, so last time I played the game was a while. And, it's been a hot minute. So it's now the middle of summer, essentially. It's now the heat of summer. Which is actually kind of impressive. So it was May 8th that I last booted up the save. And it's now June. What day is it today? June 5th as I'm booting this up. So it's kind of dating myself there. And I've been pretty busy with a few other things, mostly just goofing off. Whoops. And, it's mostly just goofing off things. But for the most part, I have gotten plenty... Oops, wrong direction. I have gotten plenty of comments over the Railroads Online series, most of which, on the last video, I really want to address this, because this one comment... There's a comment I'm going to call out, and I don't normally do this because this is just, because at the end of the day, it is straight up, like, it is, the guy's comment, which I'm going to probably put up on screen here, I'm going to blur the name out, but you can see it, you'll probably be able to find it, because since it's in the last video, but he says to, like, imagine not blaming Kume for the state of Railroads Online. I'm like, and to be fair, and to clear things up, Kume was the guy that originally developed this game. He was the one behind the game, but he's not the guy at fault for the game's disaster, like the game's current state. Not by any means. From my point of view, that is the publisher's problem. And if you actually look into development history of a bunch of other games out there, usually it's the fault of the publisher that's causing the problems. So games like GTA 3, the GTA 3 Definitive Collection, that was the publisher, that wasn't the developer, that wasn't Grove Street that screwed that game up. No, it was the publisher, it was Take-Two. The same... It's just like things like that. EA has been known to have issues with the games in these, like, in terms of publishing and... Whoops, I didn't even know that was tied down already. What the hell? Was I dragging that the whole thing? Weird. Whatever. Oh yeah, these are tied down. What the hell is going on here? I must have forgot. I must have tied those down beforehand. Oh. But yeah, usually when it comes to a game's state, like what Railroads Online ended up being by the end of its by the 1.0 update, I would say that's 100%, like, mostly, if not 100%, the publisher's fault, not Kume. Kume, yes, he had a hand in the state of the game to some extent, but once he gave the rights up essentially to the publisher that published the game. And like I said, I talked about this on the last video, but the publisher has been known to put out shovelware. They put out I will put their list of games that they have up on the screen right now, and almost all of them are shovelware shit. It's not Kyume's doing. This publisher will probably never bother with working with this game again. They will probably have it abandoned for God knows how long. Like, they will abandon it as soon as they make their... They abandoned it as soon as they made their money back. They are not interested in straight up, like, continuing this game's progress. The team behind it, yes, they are more than they are really wanting to keep this game alive. I've seen quite a bit on the Railroads Online Discord, at least, where every now and again somebody will bring up, like, when's the next update? When's the next update? And usually the response is when it's ready, or it. But there was one explanation a while ago where somebody mentioned that it's going to be a complete overhaul of the game, and it's like, well, I'll believe it when I see it, but I'm more likely to believe the team behind the game than the publishers, because at the end of the day, the publishers, for a lot of games, especially when they're dealing with shovelware, and this has been something I've always thought of over the years, but when it comes to shovelware games and their publishers, the publishers that publish shovelware games, they don't give a crap about a game's state of launch. Again, some of the most absurd games in some of the most absurd games that are quote unquote shovelware, they are all usually the result of a publisher just not giving a crap and not wanting to continue development of it, not giving the money, not giving the time, not giving any of that kind of crap. And that is kind of a key factor with any game. If a publisher doesn't care about the state of a game, then there's no point in trying to push. Then the developer has no ability really to continue development. That's one of those things where it's like, it's more or less the result of, like, you damned if you do, damned if you don't type thing. There are times where the developer, like, a big thing, there's a series on YouTube done by Matt McMuscles, and I will point this out I will kind of put this in the description a little bit for, well, there's, like, he has a huge collection of videos, and I'll put his playlist up in the description or whatnot. And most of his videos on video games in particular, almost all of them center around a publisher not giving a crap about a game's not giving a crap about a single game. Again, EA, Take-Two, these publishers where they do not think of these games as being worth time and money to the point where they just abandon them. They throw them out and then they abandon them. I mean, again, look at GTA, GTA 3 Definitive Collection. You're gonna tell me that Grove Street was at fault for everything that occurred? You're gonna tell me that? I'm sure that I'm gonna get a couple comments saying that Grove Street, the developers of that game, were the ones who basically ruined that game. They were not given the time to develop the game. Yes, the game is a broken broken and buggy mess when it released. There's no doubt about that. But when you actually look into the story of its development history, you'll realize that there was a time crunch Take-Two was going under to release the game before Christmas of that year. Take-Two originally wanted the next gen update of GTA 5 out before Christmas of that year. But they realized, oh, we can't do this because we're not going to have enough time to do it. And they set up, that's when they quickly started setting up, rather rapidly, I might add, the development of GTA 3, the Definitive Edition. It wasn't Grove Street. It wasn't Grove Street at all. And the same thing happens with, and the same thing, I could say the same thing about, effectively, Railroads Online. Railroads Online, that game, for the most part, it was developed because the creator, Kume, had a fascination, from what I understand, from what his story has said, he had a fascination with American narrow gauge. The guy lives in Germany, mind you, or somewhere in Europe. He's not a U.S. citizen. Kume is a European. So, oh, Jesus Christ, that hit hard. So he's not somebody who's familiar with American narrow gauge. He was relying on the people that were developing it. He was helping. He was the one behind the code, but he wasn't the one really doing. He was one of many people in the game's development, especially early on. So yes, Kume did have a hand in the game's eventual downfall, but it wasn't solely him, and I wouldn't completely blame him. Most of the blame, like I said, would go down to the publisher. And that's kind of the way I take it, is that the publisher themselves, most publishers, when they deal with whether it be shovelware or AAA games, they're not ones to really worry about the game's development. Instead, they worry more about they worry more about their investors than anything, and that's that's the big rub for a lot of franchises and games and all this kind of stuff. No matter what you, no matter.
Do we need trash bags of any kind?
No, not that I'm aware of.
What are you doing? Are you talking to
Recording.
somebody? You get done recording,
Mm-hmm.
close the screen,
Yeah.
and then open your door.
Okay.
But close your screen because I don't
Yeah.
want Annie in here.
Yeah. Alright. Okay. Anyway, back to what I was saying just a moment ago. I need to turn this around so I can get some airflow on me. There we go. I got a fan blowing on me now. That should do it. But yeah. Take-Two, publishers, whether it be AAA developers or tiny indie shovelware developers, AAA publishers for anything, it's mostly the investors they're trying to cater to, and the investors are typically ones that demand a lot, especially during a finance quarter. A great example of this is Dovetail. I've played Dovetail game. I play a lot of Dovetail games. One of my biggest series on the channel is Railwork Sundays, which is a Dovetail product. It's Train Sim Classic. I've played Train Sim World, and I played Wonders of Sodor on this channel. All three of which are Dovetail products. Well, back in March of this year, 2026, Dovetail Games decided to release, what was it, what was it? I think it was 7 DLCs in a month for Train Sim World alone. Not to mention, they also released Wonders of Sodor that month. Yeah, and the reason they released them all in March was actually something that most people probably didn't realize, but that is the end of the financial quarter of 2025. The financial quarter for 2025 ended in March, and people don't realize that. So a lot of times investors will want to make their money back at the end of the end of each financial quarter. So the start of financial quarter 1, 2026 started in April. It ends this month, June. And when we're starting to go into quarter 2, which is why you're starting to see a lot more content released for certain games, which is, and not only that, but movies as well. You're seeing a lot of content from, like, a lot of movies being ready to release this year, right around this time. Well, that's because the financial quarter is running down for quarter 1, and we're starting to go into quarter 2, and so on and so forth. It's not like the developers pick a date out of a hat. It's not like the publishers pick a date out of a hat, or anybody picks a date out of a hat and says, "Hey, we're going to release it this day." No, that's not what they're doing. They're not. It's calculated. It's a lot more detailed than people realize. Again, like, financial quarters are big. If you actually look into the financial quarters, you'll start to see, oh, that's why that was released at that point. That's why that was done then. That's why that was announced then. Like, for example, at the end of this financial quarter, or maybe the end, I think the end of this financial quarter, we'll see, I bet you, sometime in August or, either in August or September, which is right around the time the third financial quarter will start, we will see an announcement for Train Sim World 7 from Dovetail. Mark my words. We saw this last year with Train Sim World 6, where it was announced in August and released in September. Mark it. Mark it on the calendar, boys. Effectively, this game, like, the financial quarter, if you link up the financial quarter of every, like, the financial quarter for anything, like, look at the release date of the, again, like, another thing, the latest update for Fallout 76, which is a game I regularly play, Infestations, it released on June 2nd. What started that the day before? The financial quarter for the second financial quarter of 2026. It's not something that people realize. There's a reason why some of these updates get released when they do. There's a reason why some of these games get released when they do. It's not as simple as, oh, it's just releasing because they chose that date for just random reasons. No, not by any means. The reason these dates are typically chosen is for the financial quarter. The closer to the end of a financial quarter you are, and the more likely you're going to earn a positive profit by the end of that financial quarter. So, like, for example, the reason Wonders of Sodor released in late March of 2026. The financial quarter of 2025 ended on March 31st, and we know for a fact that Wonders of Sodor became the most popular game to release on Steam and on PC, essentially, and on the various other platforms it actually released on at the time. Now, on June 9th, ironically again, right after the start of the financial quarter, Wonders of Sodor is going to be released on the Switch. It's going to be released on the beginning of this. It's being released in June. Well, June just so happens to be the beginning of financial quarter 2, the second financial quarter. So essentially, this is not being done out of the blue. This is when a lot of companies, a lot of studios, a lot of things start being put into place, because they know that the financial quarter is the end of the financial quarter will be, be profitable. I figure out what to put the tracks on here. Do we have a okay, we have 2 empty tracks, actually. I just noticed that. Put it on this one. So, people saying, oh, they released a buggy product because they rushed it out the door. Well, technically, yes. Technically, yes. They did rush a product out the door. But it wasn't without reason. They rushed it out the door because they were meeting a deadline, not because they wanted it out. They wanted a product, a movie, a TV show out the door at a certain point in time because of the investors. And this is something that many people don't take into consideration. When you invest in a company, you want your money back as soon as possible. You don't want to simply just let it sit there or invest in the company. Usually when people invest in companies, they're investing in it because they want to make a profit. They expect a profit. That's why you see so many companies releasing products near the end of financial, like a lot of products near the end of a financial quarter. It's not because they just don't care. No, it's because they want to make a profit. That's the goal for them. Well, no, put it on the other side. That's fine. So yeah, like the thing with Railroads Online, kind of getting back to the original topic, Railroads Online effectively was not the fault. It was not an issue with the developer. QMA, yes, holds some like there were some issues with how QMA handled the game. I mean, there's a reason why Century of Steam has started to be developed. But I wouldn't say it was QMA's only it wasn't QMA just by himself. From what I understand, the development of Railroads Online, for the most part, in some ways, was not a smooth process. You have to keep in mind, like I said earlier, QMA was in Europe at the time, or he still is, really. I don't think he's moved. So QMA is a European. He lives in Europe. He's not an American, so he doesn't know much about American narrow gauge. The team behind many of the models and everything, so many of the people that now have started working on Century of Steam, they live in the United States. They are United States, and most of them, from what I understand, either live near Colorado, where much of the narrow gauge network is still around, or in areas where narrow gauge is still or in relative areas like Pennsylvania, where narrow gauge is still fairly relevant in certain areas in the United States, but they're not like completely. It's not a situation where effectively it's just like QMA may have not understood much of American narrow gauge, but he was interested in it. He was interested in American narrow gauge, which is why the game is in the state it is. It's not, and I also want to point out, this game is not for the average, it's not for rail sim or rail people that are hardcore rail sim fanatics. That's not something that this game is for. I need to go over to get the water tower fixed. That's not, that's one thing that I want to keep pointing out for these games, especially Railroads Online. Railroads Online is not for a hardcore simulation market. It's for the average consumer, the more casual audience. There's a reason the game is available on console. There's a reason the game is, there's a reason the game is in basically a state where you can just drop it, play it for a couple hours, and then just put it back, just turn it off. It's not for a hardcore audience. It's more for the general audience, which is kind of the goal you want to go with a lot of games. A lot of times, you don't want a product to be so niche that it just limits it to a handful of people. I honestly would point to games like DCS, Digital Combat Simulator. I honestly was interested in that game to play just casually, but when I started looking more and more into it, I'm like, this game is insane. There is no way I would be able to play this. It's one of the reasons why some of the games I play on this channel, this particular channel, like I will never play Run 8 on this channel. I will never do it. The reason being is because I'm not skilled enough. I'm more of a casual player. So the idea of going and playing a game where you have to do realistic brake handling and realistic running and all this kind of stuff, like that's not something I can do. It's one of the reasons why, like, my latest video on running train, I was struggling the entire time. You could see it in the video, like, with the last scenario, like, with the stopping passenger run on the second half of the video, or the last portion of the video. I was struggling enough where, while and this is funny, I actually took a screenshot of this after I completed the scenario, because I didn't know that this was a thing in running train, but I actually got a D rank. I'm not somebody that is is able to do the more advanced stuff. I'm not somebody that is able to do the more complex runs back and forth and everything like that. That is not what that's not something I'm able to do. So the idea that the idea you want to make that's one of the reasons why Century of Steam is going to have options to make the game less complex. It's not going to be a fully integrated very complex train game. That's not their goal. Their goal is to have something that is approachable from all walks of life, a more general game, and that's the goal for any game at the end of the day. You don't want your game to be so complex that you can't do anything, the casual audience can't do anything. That would just hurt the game long term. So that is why Railroads Online, for me, it's not a failure, as some people say. Yes, it's still a buggy, broken mess. See the last video, for example, where for some weird reason the tender decided to pop off the rails randomly. But it's not it's not a situation. It's not as simple as, oh yeah, this is all. This game's a failure because it's half-assed. It's not complex or anything like that. No, this is what they intended to do. The problem that I see with this game is the bugs and the sort of half-assed nature towards the end of the game's development. Like, I personally do enjoy playing this game. That's one thing I will always say. I have always enjoyed playing Railroads Online. It's one of those games. I bought it when it first released, because I was already interested in it. But when you actually look at more and more of these, like the backstory and like some of the development woes that this game had. By the way, we're going on to the main line to go to the cattle farm. If we can. I might need another locomotive for this. But the whole thing is that this game is one of the, it's not for a small niche audience. You don't want that at the end of the day. You don't want a small you don't want a product that limits itself to just a handful of people that know what the hell they're doing. That's not the goal. Again, a key example of this is Train Sim Classic and Train Sim World. Yes, they are slightly more advanced than your typical, than Trains with a Z, but they also don't punish you as badly as, say, Run 8, or hell, Running Train. Running Train can punish you quite a bit if you're not careful. I like especially with the scoring system. It's one of those things where, like, when I played that game, it was like, oh, there's a scoring system here. There's an XP system here. Like, yes, like of course there would be. It's a slightly more advanced game. Now, the idea of now I will say Railroads Online can be Railroads Online does suffer from the fact that it's a bit too casual. I will admit that. It's a bit more casual than it needs to be. But it's not exactly unheard of. So yeah, we're gonna be going quite a ways up here. Like, it does suffer from the fact that it's a more casual oriented game, but I feel like that works to its benefit too. That's one of those things where when I look at it, it's like, oh yeah, that's just how it works. That's how you play it. It's not designed to be this game where you're like hauling shit up a grade and you have to manage your brakes and make sure that everything's good. Technically, you do have to do that. I mean, look at what I'm doing right now. I got a little dinky little 060 pulling a large string of freight cars up a hill. And it looks like I'm about to stall. Yeah, maybe. We might make it up the hill. Okay, get in the bell. Try this. Try and get the Sanders on too. Why not? We might be able to make it. I know there's a hill there. I think it's a 1% actually. Now I think about it, it's a pretty significant. It's a significant looking. It's a deceivingly steep grade, I want to say. All right, we're through it. Got it. But yeah, it's one of the, like, things for, like, the reason I turn the bell on when I'm slow. Like, the reason I turn that bell on is because there's actually a bit of a. It's not a, I don't think it's a glitch anymore. I think it's intended, but it adds 10% more to the tractive effort of the locomotive, which is, you know, something that is kind of silly, but when you actually think about it, it makes sense why they left it in all this time. It's not, they didn't leave it in simply because it was just something that they didn't want to deal with. No, the reason they left it in was because it's actually a nice little touch. It's one of those things where it's like, people use it. People have used it to kind of get around steeper grades. They would turn on the bell and get enough tractive effort to get over the grade. That is something that many people don't realize is a thing. At least not to my knowledge. The people that are like saying like, oh yeah, it's just a buggy, broken mess, this is a glitch. Well, maybe not. Maybe there's a reason why the developers decided to leave that little particular thing in. Yep, shit. There we go. Gotta slow down here so we can get the water unloaded. Woohoo! We're here! Drop it off, drop it off, drop it off. Alright, stop. Okay. But yeah, games like Railroads Online, I think, don't, like, to me it's better for them to not be so limited in their development where they end up effectively limiting, like, so limited in their scope that they limit their, like, that they kind of shrink their audience to basically nothing. And that's the way I look at it. Like, you want as much of an audience as possible. You want the biggest audience as possible. That's one of the reasons why Wonders of Sodor, going back to Dovetail, is so geared for a much younger, like, it's much an easier game to get into. It's not designed for the hardcore simulators because A, it's based on Thomas, and B, you're trying to get as many people into the simulator market as possible. That's one of those things where, like, the game itself, yes, it is designed to be, it's modeled after Train Sim World. In fact, there's actually some fun little quirks with that game that I've actually exploited a little bit. which I find funny. But it's one of those games where you actually it's one of those situations where when you actually look at the details and everything, it's like, oh, that makes sense of why that's doing that. Come on, pull forward, or pull back actually, pull back. I might need to pull some of these cars off the train. Yeah, I might need to do that because I'm not gonna have enough room for this. A lot of cattle. Whoop, shit. There we go. But yeah, that's something that I wanted to kind of discuss a little bit because I saw the comments and I'm like, dude, did you not, like, there's a reason I called out the publisher, not the developer. And that irks, granted it irks me, but I'm going to get those comments regardless. I know through this video, I know that during this video, I'm going to get a couple comments saying like, oh, you're still wrong though. Like, that's your opinion at the end of the day. It's an opinion. I'm not going to argue with an opinion. I'm just stating the reasoning that I chose not to blame Kyumei for the state that this game is in. Like, I'm not fully blaming him. I will blame him for some things, obviously. But I'm not going to blame him entirely for the game's sort of lackluster state. So, say what you will. Again, it's one of those things where, like, comments are something that, for the most part, are like negative comments are bound to happen. That's something that is 100% going to be the case with any Let's Player. But when it comes to like things like what's going like Derail Online, I don't think I feel like I'm defended a little more frequently, a little more than I should. And that's one of those things that it's like, maybe I should kind of ease off on defending it, because I'm not defending it for some things. I mean, again, look at last video when the tender just popped off the train when the articulate bumped into the front of the locomotive, the class 125. Like, that is one of those situations where it's like, oh, this game is still broken. But I will not say that it's solely Kyumei's fault, and I don't think he was saying that either. I think for him, he was saying like Kyumei was the main reason, but he's not the only reason. Hopefully. Again, I can't get into these people's heads really, in regards to like, this game is broken. Like, I can't get into people's heads about that. I gotta fucking sneeze here in a second. I'm trying to hold it back. Ah! Yeah, I just... essentially, things like... Again, it's one of those things, like... I don't know. It's something that, from my point of view, game development is a lot more complex than people realize. Which, I don't think anybody's arguing with. That's another thing. It's like, I don't think anybody's arguing that game development can be a pain in the ass to deal with. I don't think anybody's saying that. I think the main thing is that it's one of those situations where things were overpromised and under-delivered. Well, maybe Kyumei had a hand in that. Maybe he didn't. But I don't think it's a situation where I would fully blame Kyumei for that situation. Yes, I will blame him. I will concede on that. To some extent, that's a little bit of a change from last video. Considering I did mention that I wouldn't blame Kyumei for that situation. For the situation this game is in. But I will say that, from my point of, like, from my seat in the bleachers, as what some would say, that the idea of the game being in the state that it is, from my point of view, is more the case of, oh, the publisher was rushing this game out to meet investor demands. Now, whether or not that's actually true or not, well, time will tell. You have to keep in mind that games like Century of Steam is in development because of the development of Railroads Online. We don't have... we can't deny that. Century of Steam was the result of the development of Railroads Online. There's no argument there. There's no way you can argue that, oh, this game is being developed just because they want to develop it. No. The team at Studio 346 is the old Railroads Online team. These people have worked with the Railroads on. These people have worked on Railroads Online. That's what they did. So the thought process is that the reason that this game is being effectively, again, Railroads Online and Century of Steam go hand in hand in terms of their development. There's no doubt about that. But there is something slightly different. The publishing side of things. Century of Steam is being published by the team at Studio 346. They're working on it themselves. They do not have a big publisher like Railroads Online does. I'm gonna load this train up as well while we're at it. They don't have, like I said, it's one of those things where, like, when you actually look at the details, Century of Steam it's a night and day situation, but it's the same day. So the idea that, oh, yeah, they're just releasing a different a better game. No, not entirely. It's developed, from what I understand, Century of Steam. Much of the development of Century of Steam was people from many of the developers for Century of Steam are former developers of Railroads Online, with the lead developer Mark Huber, aka Heiss, being one of the lead guys that was working on the soundtrack of Railroads Online and the actual he had a huge hand on Railroads Online's development. He was the spokesperson of Railroads Online for a while. Like, that was kind of his early... that's kind of the reason why locomotives like the Class 70 are in the game. The Class 70 is in the game because, it was the flagship locomotive... one of the flagship locomotives from Century Railroads Online. It was one of those locomotives, when you actually booted up the game, that was kind of the end goal for any of the Railroads Online team... anybody who played Railroads Online. If you played Railroads Online, very early on, your main goal was to get a Class 70, because it was the heaviest locomotive in the game. Hard to imagine now. It's one of the weaker locomotives in the game. But then again, it's an 1880s build locomotive, so of course it's going to be the weaker locomotive. Bonk. So the idea that these games, so the idea that Railroads Online is effectively not tied to the development of Century of Steam, which I don't think anybody was arguing. That's another thing. I don't think anybody argued that Century of Steam and Railroads Online are not tied together. But it's one of those things where it's like, there's different philosophies about how the games are going to be developed, or how the games are going to be played. And from my point of view, that's one of the appeals of... there's two different appeals for it. The appeal of Railroads Online is that it's a casual, pick up and play, easy to play around game, more to decorate, stuff you can decorate around the game and whatnot. I gotta back this up. And stuff like that. It's not a game where you're spending hours on end switching cars around and making sure everything is lined up and so on and so forth. Like, yeah, that's not the appeal of the game. The appeal of Railroads Online is that it's a pick up and play type game with some delivery mechanics. It's more that you can go around and make special like mixed trains and not have to worry about like just going around and having things stall on you and whatnot. Like, you can go around a normal map and just like mess around with it. But with Century of Steam, it's going to be a little different in terms of how it's done. Century of Steam, from what I can gather on the Patreon side of things and everything, it's like they're more of a mix of Railroad Tycoon 3 and say Train Sim Classic with how it's done. Because they mentioned that one of their main inspirations is Railroad Tycoon 3. That was one of their main inspirations for the game. And that, to me, like, Railroad Tycoon 3 holds a big place in my heart, if you will, for the for my love of train games. It was one of those games that I played hours in, and I actually got it as a birthday gift, funnily enough. My birthday is just right around the corner. It was actually a birthday gift when I was in elementary school. That's how far back. That's how old I am. It was released when I was in elementary school, and I got the game as a birthday gift from one of my teachers who just so happened to buy it because they knew that I liked trains and that was one of the games I was interested in. And it's one of those situations where two water things there. Okay, it's one of the game. It's like Railroad Tycoon 3 being an inspiration for Century of Steam in terms of its management mechanics. That to me is a big selling point for this game, or for the game. Railroads Online, however, to me, Railroads Online is one of those games where you go in and you're gonna be just running trains around for a little bit and then drop it off. That's one of the reasons why this video series has been sort of like a situation where, oh shit, I just wasted all the sand. Fuck! I have to go to the sand tower to fill it up. It's one of those reasons. It's one of the reasons why I don't do a frequent like end-to-end playthrough of this game very often. It's a more pick-up-and-play type game. Yes, it's become a mainstay on the channel, considering it also gets the most views. But it's also a situation where, at the end of the day, there's so many other aspects of this game that are rather interesting. All right, so we're going to be dropping off this kind of cars further down the line here. Okay, we're going to do this. Because we got to switch out some of these cars around. I'm going to go out to here. We're going to drop off box cars up here. We'll run around. Let's switch the... Yeah. We're in much lighter trains so you can push it faster. Woohoo! But yeah, it's... I will say... I do understand the frustration for what happened with Railroads Online, but I wouldn't say it's only QMA's fault now. Okay. Have we been recording for 50 minutes? Oh, that's impressive. Oh, God. Oops, that's the brakes. There you go. Dropping these off at the farm, and that's about it. Probably should get it once I drop these cars off and everything. We'll probably end the video because at this rate, I've been recording for 50 minutes. I have to do a little bit more editing than normal. So, it's a situation where it's just, oh, well, that's kind of unfortunate type thing. But I also noticed that the sun is kind of like, we're at noon, I think, right? What time is it? F, that's the key I'm looking for. Jeez. Yeah, it's a little after 2 in the afternoon. Cool. Okay. So we'll drop these cards off in the main yard on the runaround, at least the 3 box cars on the back runaround track. We'll push the flat cars in position, and then we'll just take this whole, take the cut over to the farm, just further up the line. We'll drop off everything else. Passenger train sitting here, which we probably should get up, getting out of here soon. We'll probably get around to it later. Oh yeah, that's why I got cordwood. It's for the what's that? Stamp mill. That's why I got it. I was wondering, like, why do I have so much cordwood here? No, it's for the stamp mill. Alright, we're shopping. Good. I didn't hear the bell from that far. Okay. Okay, well. Tie down the brakes on this car here, shall we? Woo. Yeah, shit. Oh, this is not what I want to be. Alright, uncouple. Go. We got a little bit more sorting to do, but we should be fine. I don't take screenshots as frequently as I should. Alright, here we go. Come on. Come on. Oh, did it recouple it? I think I might have recoupled. No, it didn't. It was just pulling slowly for some reason. Okay. Jump. Get in the cab. Woo! Alright, stop the train. Woo! Let's flip the switch and push this in. Go. Shove this up, and then we're gonna load up. We're gonna just send these off to the farm. We'll put the water cars back on the yard in the yard tracks, but aside from that, we should be good. It'll be now we have seed pallets over there that we can pick. We have a seed pallet car over here actually we can drop off too. We got a lot of local jobs to do. Huh. Easy does it. Alright. We'll do. Make this a little easier on me. Unhook the train from here. Crouch. Uncouple. Kicked. Brakes on. We'll let that roll. Woohoo! Let that roll past the sledge, and then we'll pick it up on the way out. If anything, it should stop before the switch, the other switch, since it's on it's on an uphill. Just let it roll. It's fine. Oh, look, it's already stopped. That's funny. Did it already stop? Did it really already stop? Yeah, kind of. It's fine. It's still no, it's still rolling. I see it. It's still rolling. And we're gonna kick these into the main yard, and that's about it. All right. I've talked for a while enough here. How's our fuel and water? Fuel and water's okay. Don't need to be filling up the fire too much often. I'll just kick these cars when we get the chance. Yeah, we're good. We'll just kick these cars into the yard, and then we'll be good to go. It's not a very fast locomotive, but I don't intend it to be fast. Because this is with this cargo. Get a good run up here on the switch before we go. Oh, line of switch, we're good. Alright, line of switch. Alright, we'll do this. There we go. Split. Alright, that should give us a good run up to kick the cars out of the way. Oh, there's the hill too. Bottom of the hill. Make sure he's not rolling backwards though. Yeah, they're stopped. Alright, I figured they would stop. Come on! Oh! Well, that's funny. There we go! Off we go. Get up some speed here before we drop off. Alright, we're good. Brakes off. Off you go. Bye-bye. Alright. This is going to roll off into the sunset. That's one good thing about the way the game plays here, is that you can actually switch cars around a bit more. Oh, we got it. Sweet. Get them off the switch there. There we go. On the switch. We're good. Okay, he's running to the yard. That's good. I'll race him out. I'm flying out. Woohoo! I might need to go grab a handbrake on those. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with a handbrake. Fuck. Woo! Off we go. Multitasking. Woo! Ah! There we go. Oh, there's another cut of cars over there. That's right. Oh well, that's fine. We'll leave them here. Actually, he's go to the same position, same track there. That's fine. There's a locomotive over there. He's running fast. Is he going downhill? He's going downhill, isn't he? He should hit the cars and just stop there. And brakes on. Bonk. Alright, well, that's good. And we just got these beams over here that we need to drop off at some point, so we'll just roll a little closer to these cars here, and then go ahead and pick up our farm cars. Should build up the city a little bit more than I already have. Alright, that's good here. Alright, stopped. Tire brakes. Good. Get this train moving here. Alright, last thing to do before we end the video. Throw some firewood in there so we don't run out of steam before we get up there. Whoops. I can usually fill up with water here too while we're... What the fuck is going on? Did I hit the wrong button? Oh, I did. I hit off the screen for a second. That's stupid. Oh, right. We got a handbrake tied. Right. Oof. Whoop. Alright. Ground brake. Yeah, let's get some water while we're at it. Why not? We'll fill up with water. We've got a water tower here. We're good. Alright, easy. Right there, stop. Damn it, missed it. Actually, no, we're fine. We'll just position the water tower a little bit. Okay, get the water tower down. Stop wiggling. Stop wiggling. Stop wiggling. There we go. That'll work. As long as we get it in the water. What was that? What is that anyway? Whatever. It's gonna fill. It's gonna take some time to fill up. So yeah, it's filling up the boiler first. Woohoo! What do we got on this passenger train over here? We might take this up to the stamp mill and grab some gold ore so we can send it off to be smelted. We've got 2 of them, eh? And it's being pulled by a Glenbrook. Okay. The Ruby Roads. Alright, so I need to check on the stamp mill. See what that looks like, honestly. Let's see what we got in terms of the amount of gold that we have. We might have enough where we can take the train. I don't know. We have 16 of them, man. Alright. Not too bad. We might take it up there and grab some gold. It's a short passenger train, but it's a fairly long one. We might need the Eureka to go with it as well. A double header. Yeah, that would be fun. I think I have. Yeah, she's up there at Elvenwood, I think. She's at the top of the grade. Or Chatsworth. That's Chatsworth, right? It's still filling up. We've got half a tank. Oof. Oh boy. My God. Ow. Hurt my shoulder stretching. Alright, full of water. Good. Put that up there. There we go. Get back in the cab. Let's move. Stop doing that. Why do you keep doing that? I keep clicking off the window just by accident. If you haven't I do have 2 different computer monitors, and every time I move my mouse off the screen, it will select the other window, and it's kind of annoying. Let's get these cars to the farm and we'll be good for today. Which is kind of fitting considering the sun is starting to set. That's another thing we're doing. So. Alright. Stop there. We'll slam these cars around a little bit. Let's make sure the switches are aligned for us outbound. Yes, we are aligned all the way into the farm, actually. Okay. Yeah. Alright, we're good. You need... Oh, yeah. We have only 4 wheat and 10... Yeah, we're going to need water. More water. More water. Alright, let's go. There's another run we can do. Off we go. We need more water and I think seed pellets, right? Is that what we need over there as well? No, we have plenty of seed pellets. We have 30 of them over there. Jesus Christ. I mean, another boxcar full of them wouldn't help. It wouldn't hurt. Hit these cars. Hit them. Hit them. Bonk. Got it. All right, let's go. Blow for the crossing. Clear crossing. Off we go. To adventure and death. There you go. Clear through. We're going to go up the hill here and we're off on an adventure. Clouds actually started rolling in too, so we might actually get different weather soon. It's been about 30 minutes. Alright. Alright, well, up the hill, it's starting to get dark with the clouds rolling in. Which I'm assuming means we're going to get rain, considering how drastic the sky's transition has become. Because there's still blue skies over there, but I think we're going to get rain. Alright. Well, here we are at the farm. We're going to drop off these cars. We're going to get the logo back into the yard. And from there, I'm just going to end the video. So, yeah, like and comment down below. Subscribe if you guys want more. And I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.